welcome to the Blockchain Bandits podcast. You're here with me, Jeff.
And myself, Courtney.
And me, Andy.
And today we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of things. The week's been crazy. We all saw what happened with like all the exchanges being locked out, and on top of that, the mini flash crashes and other stuff. And me and Courtney actually went to the Blockchain Summit in London and spoke to a lot of people active in the blockchain community. So yeah, there's a lot of input there. I think we'll get started with that. So yeah, we went to the Blockchain Summit. There was a lot of people there. More people there than I thought there was going to be. A lot of good blockchain use cases there as well. A lot and a few crap ones, I have to say. But that's how it goes. What was your impression of the whole thing?
Yeah, I think the blockchain summit was really good. It showcased the community that is actually behind blockchain. Believe it or not, you had people from all walks of life, different ages, and it was good just to see the community kind of in front of you instead of maybe just being able to talk to them socially via social networking. But yeah, there were a number of different use cases, and a few of them we'll talk about today. For instance, IBM was the key one there for me, and I'm not gonna lie, their stand was really, really popular on the day. We found that you had a number of theatres where people were pretty much going in and listening to a number of different use cases, and it was rammed, like literally rammed. If you can imagine like a really, really, really big university campus that has a big, lecture room, it was literally that. So about 200 people or so totally packing out the one theatre that we were in, and there were about 4 of those. So you can imagine about a good 800 people were, available that day, and they weren't all just in the theatres. They were at the different stands talking to different ICOs that were there. There were a number of good startups that were actually at the blockchain summit. We spoke to a few of those, and yeah, they're just doing a number of if you listen to our last podcast, we talked about a few use cases, and we kind of gave a listing of the different use cases for blockchain, and to be honest, we saw kind of a variety of different ICOs relating to those.
Yeah, we saw there was all sorts there, like so many different use cases I had never even thought about. It's good to see that there's a lot of variety in this thing, and people being creative.
What was one what shocked you? Like, what was one what you thought was like really stood out?
One that really stood out, I have to say, is probably what IBM's doing. So what IBM's doing is they're going to companies and they're looking at them and they're saying, okay, what part of your company or business do you want to improve? Yeah, and then they take that small part and they look at it and they create a blockchain around that. And what they explained to us, we spoke to a guy for quite a while at the IBM stand, even though it was very popular. We managed to speak to this guy for quite a good while and in depth about what they were doing, and he explained to us that everyone has the impression that when the blockchain is going to come and like completely bulldoze their business, or they have to completely change their whole business into a blockchain basically. Yeah. But he explained that that's not the case. Sometimes all you need to do is get one aspect of your company and implement the blockchain into that. For example, he was talking about shipping and the paperwork with shipping and things like that, and the transfer of data and things like that, and verifying things that need to be signed off. He said all that for a shipping company they're working with, they've basically managed to make it millions of times more efficient, cheaper, and they've basically managed to scale and condense the shipping all the way back from when a product is picked all the way to when it ends up in a shop, and every single process is authenticated on the blockchain, so you can rely on every single piece of data you are getting, like if you were a business or a shop. And one example he gave is that sometimes, like I think there was like some sort of cholera outbreak, some sort of disease outbreak, and there was a bunch of mangoes that were infected, and instead of throwing out your whole mango collection, I don't know, your whole bunch of stock worth of mangoes, you're able to identify each mango and know exactly where they came from, and so you know this mango could be infected, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that cuts costs there. Instead of having your whole business on the blockchain, that aspect will save you a lot of money and save you a lot of time. So yeah, that was that.
The IBM are doing their blockchain side of things through Stellar, right?
Yeah, they're
who've been doing really well.
Yeah.
And I'm holding some like I'm been pleasantly surprised with Stellar.
The recent lift.
Yeah. And IBM, it seems like they've got a really good thing going. Those two, the price of Stellar rose the day you guys went, and also because there's also other summits going elsewhere. There's quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
Which hopefully we'll be going to another one soon. I'll be joining you this time.
Yeah.
But it was some interesting movements in the market as well.
Yeah. Especially like we spoke to a guy. I don't think I want to mention where he was working with at the moment, considering the story I'm about to say. But we spoke to him, and he basically told us, because IOTA is another one that skyrocketed this past week. And they came out with the thing they're doing with Microsoft and another company, I can't remember, but it's a data marketplace where people can sell their own data, and they also coming up with a thing where people can, integrate the Tangle and things like that. And his company are doing the same thing. And he said to me that, he was on the phone with someone at IOTA, who I'm also not going to name, and like after literally 2 weeks after he was explaining his own business, IOTA announced that they're going to start building their own data marketplace and things and that, and so that was kind of interesting. But he was coming up with, it was good to talk to him because I'm a huge IOTA fan, and so he came with a balanced view of IOTA. He was like, there's a lot of issues where manufacturing, basically manufacturers of hardware for like things that like smart devices, that interact with the Internet of Things. In order to integrate IOTA, they have to have special sensors, and in order to manufacture those sensors and implement them into these devices, it's a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, and by the time they do that, it'll be too late and blah blah blah. Given all these reasons, which were kind of valid as well, but at the same as he was talking, the price of IOTA was rising because they had announced they were doing this with Microsoft and everything. So I don't think IOTA is going to be stopped by the issues he was talking about, but it was good to get a fresh view, and that was another benefit of going to this. We were able to talk to people about their views and stuff.
Yeah, I think a key thing to really point out with blockchain technology, Tangle, and the Internet of Things and everything else that's going on, I don't think it's something that's going to change tomorrow. It is something that's changing over a said couple of years at least.
Yeah.
And I think IOTA's positioning themselves for that future when everything ends up becoming, based on the Internet of Things, and everything actually, is kind of needing some sort of tech to kind of assist it. IOTA is going to be the ones going, we've been here for however long, us, we've worked with Microsoft and we've been improving there, and we've worked with here and there. So I think the fact that they're starting now is the greatest thing for them, because by the time it's all mainstream, they'll be ready.
Yeah, I think that's a good point you made, because the thing is, obviously in the community, IOTA, they've got a name for themselves, but it's not, as you know, Jeff, it's not the best. Like their devs don't have a lot of friends, let's say. So them getting their name out through look at what we've done, look at these new things we're doing, step in the right direction in terms of how the growth of future growth of IOTA anyway.
Also, the whole not being completely open source thing as well. That was one of his arguments. He was just you're not open source, but
Oh, he said that.
Yeah. He said that. He had a lot of hate in his heart. I can't lie.
He seemed a bit salty.
Yeah, he was very salty.
Well, I think IOTA's got a good position to kind of be a part of the community, but not a part of the community. They don't have to follow everything in regards to blockchain technology and the community, because technically Tangle's not blockchain. So I think come from that point of view, I think it they don't have to conform exactly, and I think maybe that is their key thing, and they can make their stamp without necessarily being liked because the platform that they're coming with is quite good, and I think if they can prove it with their work, not necessarily their personas, then that's their angle, I guess.
Yeah, I think IOTA's technology is strong enough to carry them through, and I think as well they're making the right partnerships. Last time we spoke about them being doing a thing with Bosch. Now they're working with Microsoft. That's a big one, and loads of other companies now as well. So they're taking the right steps. They're doing the things they need to do, and I think we'll see a lot more of IOTA in the future. It's not going anywhere at all. But yeah, another cool use case I found when I went to the we found when we went to the blockchain summit is this thing called Rentberry, and basically what it is peer-to-peer rental sort of thing. So if you have a property, kind of like Airbnb, where you can rent out your house to people coming on holiday or whatever, but this is more for long-term rentals, and it's completely peer-to-peer on a decentralized decentralized space, and they do everything. The smart contracts do everything from the application process, the rental auctions, agreements, rent payments, reviews and ratings, and they do crowdsourced security deposits as well. So that's kind of cool. Apparently they're already up and running in Australia and other places in Japan. I think maybe California as well. They're up and running, so they're doing quite well. It says that they're actually working out in 4,948 cities. So yeah, they're doing quite well. It was really interesting. We spoke to to one of the head guys there for quite a while. He was a really cool guy. He gave us a lot of info. And we ended up speaking more about the blockchain technology, the blockchain space as a whole, rather than what he was doing, which I thought was cool. He wasn't just there to just sell us whatever he was doing. He just wanted to have a chat about blockchain. And when you see the passion of blockchain technology in someone, it's quite refreshing that they're just, although they've been working in this space, it's still fresh to them. It's still exciting to them. And the fact that they are working on it is a great indicator for me. And it kind of pushed me to look more into what he was doing as well, as opposed to if he was just there just listing off whatever they do and blah blah blah, and how much money I can make before I'm investing in, that would have just put me off. So he was a cool guy. I think his name was Sergey. Yeah, so yeah, shouts out to Sergey from Rentberry.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. He really did seem interested in blockchain technology. I think, I don't think he really cared so much about, us back in the ICO in terms of investing, just because he did mention that he has a number of investors already lined up. So I think his approach was more to just get people interested. One, in look, this is what we do. But two, just talk about blockchain. And again, yeah, that is quite refreshing.
Yeah, he did mention that he made a good point. He was like, yeah, we're not like these other ICOs where we're just trying to get as much money. What we believe in is get a working product first and then ask people to invest. So they had, venture capitalist investments before, and other types of investments before they decided to make an ICO, because they wanted to get an up and running product before they went and asked the public to invest, which is fair enough. I think every single ICO should do that. It doesn't make sense to ask people to just believe in what you want to do if you can't show them an example of it working. It's kind of like blind faith, and this is what I say to everyone that invests in the ICO. That's why I'm not a fan of just of the ICO sort of space. I'd rather see something work and then invest. Just even if it's just a beta stage, even if there's a bunch of problems, if I can see just how you want to implement it, see what you're planning to do, and if I can see a future for it, then yeah, of course I'll invest. But yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah, it's refreshing to hear an ICO actually say what you guys said in saying that they want a working product first before they push a sale out. Yeah, because a lot of ICOs are like, okay, we'll get the money in and then we'll give them the service.
Yeah.
And then you'll see that there will either be a mediocre service or there won't be.
Yeah.
Or
just
like,
crash.
yeah,
On the first day.
like and there'll be roadmaps like every other month
Yeah.
updated so they can raise more money because there's a new roadmap. It's just hype.
Yeah.
It's just money, like people trying to accumulate as much money as possible. But yeah, you guys have showed me this today because obviously I was in that at the event. But from what you guys have told me about it and what I've seen from their website from the short time I've looked at it, is it looks great. And I guess they're using it as a bit of a competition against Airbnb, but more for the more long term for renting. How they allow the landlords and the renters to interact with each other through the application is pretty interesting as well. It seems like they really put a lot of time and like just thinking about this. And
it's kind of scary if you're an estate agent though.
Yeah, I would be scared.
Your job's kind of gone, but if I was an estate agent, I'd try and think some way to incorporate it. Maybe even though landlords do not need they don't need estate agents using this app, but you never know. Some people like the convenience, so they might pay an estate agents to run whatever they need to be run through the app for them. So maybe looking to doing something like that if you're an estate agent. Like blockchain's not the end of the world.
Well, yeah, I think we had a conversation the other day about Rentberry and the fact that peer-to-peer kind of setups aren't new. Airbnb, for instance, do what they do. So it's not a new piece of technology in any shape or form in terms of, well, I wouldn't say technology, it's actually not a new idea, peer-to-peer kind of transactions when it comes to renting out a property or so. So I think estate agents could even mold themselves around it. They could, potentially even pick up some of the technology and implement it into their business. I think it's just the way that the world's going right now, where peer-to-peer kind of transactions are quite common. I think blockchain technology would just assist that and aid that more than totally take over. And I think it's just a good alternative. As you say, there will be estate agents that may offer, kind of the service, and people don't actually want to communicate with anyone. They want estate agents to take ownership, and all they really want to do is receive money. And if they have to pay a small bit of their capital towards an estate agent, it's actually easier for them in terms of their business processing. So I don't think the estate agents will go out of business, well, not anytime soon. But I think there will be a transition in the market where the estate agents won't pretty much monopolize it. And I think that's really good. And they've seen this, Rentberry, and they're taking advantage of it. And if they can continue, then it's all the better, especially if it drives down prices in terms of renting, etc. It's good for the consumer and good for us, really, because we're that demographic.
Exactly. And I think as well, this brings us back to what we were saying about IBM. Like, it doesn't have the blockchain doesn't have to be this destructive force that comes and destroys or changes every single industry. I think think of it more of a balance side. Like Courtney just said, it takes away the monopoly of certain things, because at the end of the day, for example, if you're just a guy who has one property that you want to rent out, and you may not have the capital to be paying to estate agents, then this will be perfect for you. But if you have several properties, maybe it's a bit more tedious for you to manage them on the app. I haven't actually used the app, so I can't really say for sure, but maybe it's more tedious to manage several apps, several properties on this app, and maybe it's still better to use an estate agent for that, so it's not the end of the world, like we were saying. There were so many other things we looked at, like there was one called Settlement, which is basically it allows for businesses to build blockchains and smart contracts and things in JavaScript, which is really cool. I've mentioned Stratis before, and they allow people to create smart contracts in C#, which makes it easier. For example, if you are a company and someone's coming to propose a blockchain for you, you might be thinking, well, our developers don't know how to how to work with the blockchain. If they can use JavaScript, which is a very common language, they're more likely to be like, okay, we'll take on. It's not much work. We don't have to train our employees again. So yeah, it's a really it's a really good idea. I think their slogan is, "We make it easy for IT teams to build blockchain applications," which is really cool. I think the more of these we see, the better it will be for the blockchain industry as a whole. So that's my take on it. It was really good to see all these different use cases. There was another one, Serenity Financial, which is basically a decentralized forex broker, which is really cool. A lot of people who are listening might have been in like the forex groups I've been in and stuff like that. So maybe you guys are interested in this, and we know the sort of mess that forex brokers can do. Taking people's money, locking accounts, not allowing people to withdraw. Just a lot of dodgy stuff sometimes with certain brokers. Now you don't have to run the risk. You don't have to think about it as much. Obviously there are good brokers out there, but like there's still you won't always know which one is and which isn't. So this is a good way of taking that out of the equation. Another decentralized broker or exchange we came across was OTN, and they did a talk there as well. And that's actually kind of a offshoot. I think it's run by the same people who own IQ Option, which is a binary options broker. So I was a bit slightly skeptical about that but it kind of makes sense for a broker to look at their model and be like, you know what, this is the future of our model. We're not going to, we're not going to survive. Like, we need a trustless sort of system. So, it makes sense. That was a really, I think that's one of my favorite use cases for that. And especially with all the stuff that's been going on with exchanges this week, Coinbase was locked out because it couldn't handle the people coming in because of the whole Bitcoin flash crash, which is, let's start talking about that. The flash crash that happened. It's nothing new. Like, there was a lot of crazy talk about it. People going, oh my god, it's dropped this much. Bitcoin's done that before. Cryptocurrencies do that. It's a new currency. We all know it's volatile. It's going to do this. But I guess there's a lot of new people in the space, people who are new to financial trading as a whole. So, the emotions are that much stronger because they're not used to it. Yes.
Like, people, it kind of shocks me that people are still shocked about it, because I'm almost desensitized to it now. Like the other day, I was talking to someone about it, and they were like, "Oh, why is it like this? Like, it goes to 11,000 and then drops to nearly lower than 9,000, and it's not good." It's like, well, that's just called volatility. It's just volatile, and I mean, part of the reason to why there's a lot of success in the crypto market so far is its volatility in a way. Because there's, I guess it's almost a lack of regulation. People can just say how much they willing to buy whatever amount. Like, there's no limit. But yeah, like, once again, Bitcoin has recovered a big drop.
It recovered almost instantly.
Yeah. Like it considering the past, the similar falls. I think the last fall was just before the 2x when it got announced it got cancelled. I think this one was a bit longer how it took to recover, but I mean it was basically the same. We're on the same track now.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we tried to hit all-time highs again. At this rate, but by next week, if we're talking about Bitcoin's gone 12,000 or higher, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just Bitcoin doing its thing again. Really.
All-time highs every week. That's
Yeah.
used to it. Yeah. This is nothing new. Like, for such a volatile market, and like we said, there was a lot of FUD going around. Being spread. And I guess that's just journalists doing what journalists do, getting clickbait and eye-catching headlines and things like that. But you know how people are, they panic, and then obviously the exchanges got locked out because everyone was panicking trying to sell their bitcoins, but then they were overloaded. They overloaded the servers of Coinbase. TradingView is not even an exchange; it's just a charting platform. And that was locked out as well. So many people were panicking. It was crazy.
Yeah.
A few other exchanges were locked out as well. But yeah, that's one of the problems with centralized exchanges. And so things like Serenity Financial and OTN were probably the best way to go in the future, especially with such a volatile market.
Yeah, I think you just got to look at it this way. You got to imagine, Bitcoin has reached 9,000, and newbies and veterans are going crazy and put more money into Bitcoin, and then it's like, we reckon it hit 10,000. Oh, it's hit 10,000, and people flood in and go crazy and crazy and crazy, and then everybody's thinking, yeah, you know what, we're gonna profit so much, keep putting money into it, and then it hits 11,000, and people at their heights, they're so gassed, they're so happy. And then it drops, and like that silence, you just feel that sharp pain in your stomach.
They feel the fear. It's that.
And I think that drop got a lot of people. But I think, yeah, Bitcoin, in my opinion, is going to keep increasing. The whole space is going to improve. And right now, Bitcoin is on top. So I think, it's going to keep on increasing. Again, I'm not a financial advisor in any shape or form, but, I think it's going to keep on going up, and it will have its drops. Come on, things can't just increase forever and never drop. You got to expect it. And trading itself, you should expect some sort of loss as well.
Exactly.
So the fact that people are going crazy and panicking and overloading servers and different platforms, I guess it's interesting. Yeah. It's like a movie, you can just imagine that, people running around with their arms flailing in the air. But, I think the space just needs to calm down a bit and kind of just, objectively review what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's right. But, that's how it is. That's how the market moves in the first place, fear and greed. And I think fear is a much more, it's a much stronger emotion than greed. Fear is, you get fear in all sorts of walks of life. It's psychologically deep rooted into us, and that's why when you see price fall, it falls a lot quicker than it rises. I know Bitcoin's been rising a lot, but when you see the falls on Bitcoin, they are sharp. They're sharp. Fear is number one. Fear is what takes people out of the market. So you need to be very careful. And I'm gonna quote Michael Jr. again. I said it before, and I say it again. Yeah, trade like a machine. You got to think like a computer, because if you go in there with all sorts of emotions, the market is going to spank you. That is what's going to happen. The market is emotionless, so you need to be emotionless in return. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't care whether you lose or make money. It just moves how it moves. And you just have to protect yourself and control your own risk, manage your risk, and trade according to your risk appetite, and it'll make it easier for you. You don't go putting everything in one basket when you can't handle the stress. If price moves down like by 1%, you'll go insane, like living that way. So if that's your sort of temperament, maybe you risk a little less. You'll find yourself being more profitable. If you do have a heavy risk appetite, then yeah, go for it. But I would never advise putting all your eggs in one basket. But if that's your analysis, if that's what you see is the best thing for you, then go ahead. Feel free to do whatever you want to do. Like we always say, we're not financial advisors. As far as we're just chatting crap. But this is just our opinions. Just my opinion. Yeah, but what do you guys think?
Yeah.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say I totally agree. I think you was about to say the same, Andy.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Mm-hmm. I completely agree with what you just said. Definitely.
Yeah. So it was a crazy week. There's still some stuff going on behind the scenes over the Tether hack as well. Bitfinex, being silent about that still, so people are a bit on edge, and it's giving people more reasons to to transfer their money into hardware wallets. We're getting a lot more questions about it, about different types of wallets, hardware wallets, paper wallets, brain wallets, things like that. I made a video about it. We'll leave a link below for anyone who wants to check out the video about what types of wallets to look into, which ones are the best for you, perhaps. And yeah, I think that's the way forward. Just take your money off the exchanges, and just keep it safe. Just with some coins it might be a bit harder because it's hard to find offline wallets for certain coins like IOTA. I'm still waiting for a hardware wallet or something for it, but apparently it's coming soon, so I can't wait for that. But yeah, hopefully that gets sorted and we'll be good. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, it was a crazy week. I enjoyed it though. It was entertaining. I love when the markets get like this. I love seeing the panic and stuff, because most of the time I'm just sitting back and watching it. Don't like to be involved in that sort of stress. And most of the people who are panicking are people who bought at the top. So
yeah, I feel like a lot of the people who are panicking are the people who have a lot invested in it. But if you have a lot invested in something which you don't feel safe in investing in, then maybe you should take a bit more money out. Like I, for one, I mean, yeah, we hit 12,000 Bitcoin, and then it dropped to under 9,000. Yeah, I was checking. Yeah, I was paying attention, but at no point did I want to sell.
Yeah.
Because the way I saw it is, one, I think it will recover. Two, if I had more fiat, I'd probably buy it if I could. Like 9,000 for Bitcoin is a bargain. Considering you have to consider, I understand there's a lot of fear and doubt throughout the market the past few days, because we're going to new highs. The past few days we've been going to new highs, and there's a bit of it was showing a bit of a wobble, but with all this attention around it, again, Coinbase can't even handle the amount of new people coming in. A lot of the exchanges are struggling with all the different connections it's getting from just the hype around it. So yeah, like 20 again. We mentioned it again. 2018 is going to be a very, very, very interesting year for cryptocurrency. I think it's going to be the year what defines it, cements it in this new age, basically.
I think the exchanges have to step up as well.
Oh yeah, it does. I think the exchanges are actually bringing the whole market down a bit, as in like the cryptocurrency community down. Once we get a decentralized exchange, what's solid, like it. I don't know how it's going to pop up. It's going to have to do something big. But I so hope it comes out. I just so hope it's not bad.
Honestly, if I was on Coinbase or GDAX, it's the same company, but I'd be looking into creating a decentralized exchange. I'd just do it, because you don't want to lose out to the guy who does it correctly, because they're going to win. Like, especially if you're crashing every 5 seconds when there's hype. Because in this market, it's going to happen again. Like, Bitcoin or something else, it's going to go up and it's going to shoot back down because people are scared. And there's going to be pumps and dumps. Like, that's how it works. This is a market. This is the financial market. People are trying to make money here, and people are going to lose out, So that's basically the way it's going to be in the future. The exchanges have to keep up. Like Andy was saying, they're dragging the rest of the cryptocurrency market down, and I think it's kind of unfair, really. And I think the exchanges are the doorway. They're the gatekeepers. And if you turn up to the gate and it's locked, then you're just going to turn away, aren't you? You're not going to bother. If you're a newbie and you tried to get onto Coinbase the other day and it was out of service, you're going to be thinking, what the hell kind of service is this? Like, I'm out. Like,
that's definitely true.
So it's one of those things, they definitely have to fix up. But 2018 is going to be a very good year. 2017 has been a great, exciting year. Even if you're just a guy, an onlooker from afar, just looking at it, interested in what's going on, it's been great. Like, so much has happened, even in the past few weeks, in the past month. But yeah, no, I'm loving it at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna what you mentioned about gatekeepers is definitely true. Like, I'm sure a lot of people listen to this, or just people in general, like, they heard about Bitcoin before they started and then they started trading into it after maybe a few weeks or months. But some people might have heard about it and then stopped, not bothered trading it after a good few months or maybe a year or more. One of the kind of difficulties new people ran into was it just getting set up and just getting your head round it is really difficult. So having exchanges mess up on you when you're just trying to buy some Bitcoin or buy some cryptocurrency is very frustrating, and a lot of people just turn their backs. But I reckon they will come back if there's a option which is just easier.
Yeah, of course. If someone comes with a really good interface, it's decentralized, and it's solid, then it has a solid network behind it, then they're gonna take over. Jay from the Making Sense podcast, it's a financial podcast where they talk about finance and stuff like that. He mentioned the other day on Twitter, or I think it was Instagram, well, he mentioned, and he says it quite a lot, is that if you make things simple for people, they will give you their soul. Obviously, they won't literally give you their soul, but what he's trying to say is that you make life easier for people with a product or a service, they'll happily give you their money. That's what people are paying for most of the time.
Hashtag iPhone.
Exactly. The iPhone's been running because it's so simple. They'll hand you their money despite so many flaws you have. As long as it's easy for them to use, they don't need all this technical stuff. It's easy, it's simple, it's a little bit flashy, it has good design, then people will just buy it. They will give their money over to that system or service. One of the examples that I used, I saw this little 60-second documentary thing on Instagram where these guys basically get paid to stand in line for people. So when there's an iPhone sale, when there's an iPhone sale, you get hype beasts trying to find Supreme stuff, and they're in line for ages. These people are in line and they're like, what, I'll take your place in the line, I'll stand in line for you, just pay me this X amount of money and then you can come back and take my spot or whatever.
They make so much money.
And they make so much money. I think he said the best week they had, they made 14 grand in 1 week just for standing in line. Anyone could do that, but they were the smart ones that basically went out and seek the people who needed it. All you have to do in this world is solve a problem. I saw a little interview with Elon Musk, and people were asking him about ideas and things like that, and he said, look, not everything needs to change the world. Not every idea needs to be this world-changing idea. All it has to do is solve a problem for someone somewhere, and it's a good idea. That's all you need. Make things easier for the world. Make the world a better place, even in the tiniest way. Then problem solved, literally, and both parties will be happy, basically. So yeah, I don't think we have anything else we want to cover for this podcast, did we?
Centralisation.
Oh yeah, we did.
Decentralisation. It's a really key topic. One where I think we would end up covering it over a number of podcasts, but a quick conversation most likely we should have about it, and I just want to see what you guys think. So actually my perception would be decentralization's one, what the community want. Two, it's what the world wants. We're moving in this world to kind of have decentralization where you haven't got a key player controlling things behind closed doors and getting a cut of whatever transactions you're making, etc. But with it, I would suggest that there's potentially a bit of risk, where it's peer to peer, maybe can you totally trust the decentralized kind of network? And also, is there always kind of an aspect of the decentralized network which is nearly centralized? And I think that's the kind of topics I would want to ponder in terms of decentralization. But then centralization, you've got normally an authority or something in between. They get a cut, but you can kind of trust that they will do their job, and that's maybe a thing that you have to question. Can you fully trust decentralized party? it's just the kind of what are the benefits of having a centralized network? What do you guys think?
I am for decentralization for the most part. I think a lot of things should be decentralized. I think as a society, we tried to make the world decentralized. I think that was the whole idea of a democracy. A democracy, if you think about it, everyone has a consensus about who they want to lead them, not necessarily who they want to control them, because like a leader, a politician is supposed to be in service of the people. So basically, for example, when you vote someone in, they're working for you, but everyone else has voted that person in. Doesn't mean that person should control you. You're supposed to be controlling them. Everyone's supposed to be controlling them. So that's more of a kind of a decentralized look, and that's kind of that's a utopian view of the world, and that's what I think we tried to do as like a society. But obviously, we've failed. The world's extremely centralized, especially in banking, and that basically controls everything. You know, central banks, that says it all. So the name's in the title. So, and I think the appearance of Bitcoin and the ideas for decentralized networks and decentralized applications, that puts us back on the track, trying to fix the problems, or trying to achieve the things we wanted to achieve at first as human beings, as a society. We wanted everything to be fair, we wanted everything to be a vote, everything to be a consensus, and that is kind of what decentralization gives us. But on the other hand, looking at it from the other side, can the rest of us be trusted? Are we the best people to ask as a society? Maybe one person is the only person who's right and knows what's best for us. Maybe that person's in control, is doing what is best for us, but we just can't see, and we can't say for ourselves what is best for us. But who's to say? Maybe if we don't know what's best for us, maybe if we still have the right to make the wrong decisions and maybe learn from that. It's getting a bit philosophical, but I think the whole concept of centralization versus decentralization, and the whole concept of the blockchain, it's all based on philosophy, and it's all kind of political. The whole purpose of Bitcoin was a backlash to what happened in 2008, 2009 with the financial crash, with the banks basically taking the piss and basically destroying the world. It's deep rooted in everything blockchain, and I really hope that doesn't get lost in everything else. In the making money and the figures and stuff. We have to understand that this can really change the world for the better. I always use the example of the farmers. That's just one example. Just think about people in countries where they don't have a banking system. They'll be able to access wealth. They'll be able to start businesses, make their lives better just from what they have. And that's an opportunity that everyone deserves. It shouldn't be monopolized. Freedom and financial freedom, the ability to grow, opportunities should never be centralized. Opportunities should be available for everyone. It should not be monopolized either. That's just my view. I don't know about you guys. I got a bit passionate there.
Yeah, no. I was just gonna say, I have exactly the same point of view as well. Like, especially in the sense when you were talking about how it does become political, because the whole movement of cryptocurrency itself is a bit more political, because it's going against the status quo. Whereas basically power is a lot more centralized in most things like government and finance. But yeah, so obviously decentralizing everything. I'm a big advocate for it in a way, but I know it's not necessarily the best in all sense. A lot of people do say that they want to they want more regulations on Bitcoin. I think it does need some regulation. However, who's the people who decide on the regulations? Well, we're centralizing it a bit more, and people should really think about that. So obviously, we have currencies which are decentralized, and if we decentralize everything again, who decides on the future patches and updates? Well, obviously, if we're going along with the decentralized everything kind of position, then it will say, oh well, everyone decides, we can put it to a vote. However, then you have to kind of realize that the people building the cryptocurrencies, they have knowledge and they understand the currency. They like, for example, say if we made our own ICO, like we would understand, okay, well, this really needs work, but people from the outside will see it from an investor's point of view of how it would make money. Now, which is or isn't the right thing to do? So it's kind of like, well, do you listen to experts of their ICO, or do you listen to people? And now here's the thing: morally, who is the good good group or good person here? Is it? It kind of depends on the people, if they're good or bad, or the business if they're good or bad. So it's a very tricky one. That's why when you're talking about we're getting philosophical here. I was like, yeah, we definitely are. It's such a toughie, but that's what makes it such a good conversation, really.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce this whole topic because I love this kind of philosophical kind of conversation. You know, I would want to mention two things. One, a lot of business, especially business that does really well, it does well because of asymmetric information. Yeah, I assume that I've learned this phrase a while ago, and what do you
mean by asymmetric information?
What it's based on is that the consumer doesn't have a clue what something's worth. As to what the person that's producing it kind of selling it at. So an example would be maybe dentistry. The consumer has no idea what's going on with their teeth. They have no idea how much it should cost, and the dentist can charge whatever they want. You've got a similar thing in engineering, where if you're talking about a car or something, if you take your car to mechanics. So if you take your car to a mechanic and say, please sort this out for me, somehow you're spending $1,000 for something that maybe only costs £20 for them to change, but you have no idea what they're doing or understand it at all. And I think decentralization has the ability to get rid of a lot of that out of society. Now, I'm gonna then fall into the other side, and the other side is this, right? I watched an interview ages ago of people rioting and going crazy about Donald Trump. And one lady was interviewed, and I don't know if you guys seen this, it's over a social network all over the place, where the guy goes, well, what are you out here for? And she's like, we want change, we're ready for change. And he then goes, how are you going to do it? And literally window shut down. She had no clue of how she would potentially even do that. Now, what I'm going to suggest is that is centralization. Why we need centralization, because the common person has no clue of how things should be done, how things should be run. So what I'm giving here is a typical Courtney on the fence balance. Yeah, everything in life, there's a certain yin and yang. We need a balance. We can't have too much of anything and too little of something, because then there's some sort of imbalance and it causes problems. And I think that's what we need right now, until we can totally see how decentralization will come in and cure all the problems that we have. I think there should be a certain balance where decentralization will help out in certain areas and potentially a bit of centralization will help out in others. A key example of that really is that, one, having centralization, sometimes the people actually know what they're doing, and two, you can trust them. But that being said, that can be argued heavily, and that's why you need that balance.
Yeah, I agree. I think there does definitely have to be a balance. Without centralization, there's no decentralization. Without decentralization, there's no centralization. But on the other hand, if there is a decentralized, open ledger, network, open access to information, then everyone has the ability to become knowledge, and that asymmetric information goes where, so people will have a better idea on how they want to make this change. Because think about it now, everything's centralized now, so a lot of people, this is something else I came across the other day. I think it was Jim Carrey talking about it or something. He was saying that everyone's in their own little bubble. You read the newspapers that agree with your own point of view. You watch the TV shows that agree with your own point of view. You see things that, you surround yourself with things that agree with your own ego. That's just how human beings are. You can't deny it. Yeah. Some people, I try to go outside and see opposing views. I enjoy doing that because I've become aware that I've surrounded myself with things that agree with, myself, because that's just what you do. That's what you want to do. You feel comfortable. But with such an open network where no one is just funneling the same information to you, and no like centralized body, like centralized media, centralized everything, then you are open to seeing different things, even if like it'd be so hard for you to not see the other point of view, to not see different things, because now things are more decentralized. It's not one guy controlling all the news you see, it's everyone's point of view. So now you're seeing a more balanced sort of thing, and that could solve a lot of societies in a lot of issues in society, because a lot of people, they have hate in their heart, they have this point of view about these people, they have this point of view about that people, because they're getting the same stream of misinformation or information. It could be right, but they're only seeing one point of view from one point of view. But with such an open world where someone else is giving you their opinion, someone else is giving you their opinion, that it'd be a more balanced in that way. So that's one way it could solve that.
Yeah, I'd say on your point, I think the reason for that is, I guess we're talking about Twitter, like almost a Twitter space or social media space, because of like what they do is the algorithms, they centralize similar ideas of what you find. So then that's the reason why it's kind of what you were saying with the whole Jim Carrey point is that you're looking at the same thing in your own circle, you're staying within your bubble, but it's kind of like looking outside it. In terms of the whole centralization, decentralization of in cryptos anyway, I think right now, of course, it's pretty it's very decentralized, other than on the exchanges, which are mostly centralized. It's good. I personally, I think it's good to have a bit of order in the world of like cryptocurrencies, what is almost chaotic. So how they should go about it, I do think we still need a decentralized exchange. I think that's really important. But how we should regulate that,
that's
this decentralized exchange. Now maybe some options could be basically very very top people like publicly having a discussion about so it's very open, having a discussion about what should be regulated and what should be avoided and what should be stopped and what can be used to stop like abuse and like legal activity within the network. Maybe that's an option to go. But again, like as there's a group of people of basically knowledgeable people who are coming up with these ideas, even if it is open, and even though it's like, say if it was streamed and it was like a massive conversation, which I think it should be, I hope it is like that, then there's obviously the argument that it's like, well, we're centralizing the power, but I think it's important to realize that having everything decentralized doesn't exactly make it good. It makes it wild. It makes it like, it's kind of like making a baby just fend for itself. Whether it grows up like not a fuck up or not is totally dependent on its environment. So like at least we having some like experts like help decide, and then there's a conversation, and people from the outside can put in their input. That's key. That is key, I think, personally.
I think that's the thing that you kind of see on like things like GitHub, where with open source projects, people from out of nowhere could come and add so much value to your project. I think the order, like each blockchain has its own rules, so that comes with a certain order. But then I think there comes the problem of like censorship and things like that. That's a whole nother topic for another day, I suppose, and that kind of comes back to what we were speaking about with Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies being used for illegal purposes, and also the whole Vitalik Buterin thing about child pornography and things like that. But I think there's so much to talk about blockchain technology. It's so exciting. we're coming to the end of 2017, and it's been such a great year for cryptocurrencies. We'll have a few more podcasts before the end of the year, and I think we'll probably do like a end of year wrap up for one of the podcasts. But I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to say about centralization versus decentralization?
No, as I say, I would suggest it's a bit of a balance, and I think it's something we're going to cover over a future podcast. I don't think it's the end. Definitely not the end, actually, I would say, because there's so much to it, and I don't think we would have covered everything in this short conversation. But I did just want to bring it up as a little spoiler and get it out there. That was it, really.
Cool. So yeah, spoke about a lot today and in depth, but I hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. If you want to join in, just leave a comment below. Give us your opinion. Are you for decentralization, or do you think there should be a balance, or do you think everything should just be centralized? It's been great. If you if you like this, leave a like if you're on YouTube or Castbox or SoundCloud. Subscribe to any or all of them, whichever one you're listening to. If you want a hardware wallet to keep your crypto safe, click the link below. It also supports the podcast. And thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you next time.
All right, thanks, guys. Take it easy.
See you guys next week.